There is no movement of air, no vibration from engines, no sound from the world beyond the walls. 5 men exist inside a space that has been sealed from everything else. They do not know the hour. They cannot see the sky. There is no way to tell whether the war outside is advancing, retreating, or ending. What remains is breath, measured, conscious, and finite. The enclosure was not meant to be a tomb. It was built for function, for protection, for efficiency. But something has failed, and failure in wartime does not announce itself with violence. Sometimes it arrives quietly, locking men inside machinery designed for survival. There is no panic yet. Panic wastes air. There is only waiting, and with every breath, the question tightens, not whether rescue will come, but whether time will run out first. Beyond the sealed walls, the war continues at full scale. Armies are moving across continents. Ships are crossing oceans. Commanders are making decisions measured in divisions, tonnage, and territory. World War II is a conflict built on numbers so large that individual lives often disappear inside them. What is happening to these 5 men does not register on any map. It alters no timetable. It delays no offensive. There will be no communique issued because of their situation, no urgent recalculation of strategy. This is how modern war operates. It prioritizes momentum over interruption, objectives over anomalies. When systems fail quietly, without explosions or witnesses, they are absorbed into the noise of a global conflict already consuming millions. The war does not stop for silence, and it does not look inside sealed spaces. Before the space was sealed, they were not remarkable. They were trained men, selected for competence rather than heroism. Each understood procedures, routines, and the logic of wartime systems. Their work depended on precision, coordination, and trust in equipment that was designed to function under pressure. None of that training addressed what happens when movement becomes impossible. They did not expect isolation. They did not expect to be removed from the chain of command without explanation. War, as they understood it, was built around action. Orders given, tasks completed, danger confronted directly. What they faced instead was suspension. 5 individuals, brought together by assignment rather than choice, now shared the same narrowing reality. Rank mattered less here. Skill mattered less. What remained was temperament, endurance, and the quiet knowledge that whatever happened next would not be shaped by courage or decision, but by time. The moment that sealed their fate did not arrive with chaos. There was no explosion, no violent impact, no immediate sense of disaster. The systems around them did what they were designed to do, until they didn't. A mechanism failed. A structure shifted. A passage that had been accessible became fixed, unresponsive, final. At first, the situation did not feel irreversible. Wartime equipment malfunctioned constantly. Delays were expected. Repairs were routine. What made this different was not the failure itself, but its position within the system. The very features meant to contain danger now contained them. Attempts to restore access were limited, careful, deliberate. No one wasted energy. No one spoke of impossibility. But with each minute, it became clearer that this was not a problem that could be solved from the inside. The enclosure did not collapse. It held, and in holding, it transformed from protection into confinement, without warning, without intent, and without a way back out. Air was never part of their calculations before. It had always been present, unnoticed, automatic, unlimited. Now it became something to be managed. Something that could be used incorrectly. Something that could run out. Breathing shifted from instinct to awareness. Each inhale carried weight. Each exhale marked loss. The men understood, in practical terms, what confined spaces meant. They knew the mathematics of oxygen and carbon dioxide. What they could not know was how quickly time would compress once every breath was counted. There were no instruments designed to measure this. No reliable way to determine how much air remained or how long it might last. Estimation replaced certainty. Guesswork replaced planning. The enemy was not external. It did not attack. It did not move, it simply diminished. And in doing so, it forced the men to confront a truth modern warfare rarely acknowledges: that survival can depend on resources too invisible to defend. As the air thinned, certainty went with it. Routine had once governed their actions. Procedures followed in sequence, decisions made within defined limits. In confinement, routine lost its purpose. There was nothing left to operate, nothing to repair that would change the outcome. Activity became optional, even dangerous. Movement consumed air. Authority began to blur. Rank depended on function, and function no longer existed. Leadership was reduced to tone, restraint, and the ability to keep fear from spreading. Silence became a form of control, not because nothing was felt, but because speaking offered no solution. The mind, deprived of distraction, turned inward. Time stretched and folded unpredictably. Thoughts returned in loops, calculations, memories, unfinished sentences. There were no heroic choices here. Only small decisions about restraint, patience, and dignity. In this space, courage did not look like action. It looked like endurance without certainty. Outside the sealed space, the war does not pause. Operations continue according to schedule. Orders are issued, revised, and executed. Equipment is lost, replaced, or written off. In a conflict of this scale, attention is finite, and priority is survival of the system, not the exception within it. If awareness of the entrapment exists beyond the walls, it competes with larger urgencies: enemy movement, incoming fire, the limits of manpower and time. Rescue is not denied out of indifference, but constrained by reality. Modern war leaves little room for deviation. This is not abandonment in the moral sense. It is abandonment by design. The machinery of war is built to advance, not to look backward. And in advancing, it often leaves human suffering sealed behind steel, concrete, and official silence. At a certain point, effort stops serving a purpose. There is nothing left to test, nothing left to calculate with confidence. The idea of rescue remains abstract, possible in theory, unreachable in practice. Hope, if it exists, is no longer active. It does not motivate action. It simply occupies space. Endurance shifts in meaning. It is no longer about lasting until help arrives, but about remaining composed as time passes without markers. The men are no longer surviving toward something. They are existing within limitation. Breathing slows. Movement becomes deliberate. Words, when used, are economical. In this stage, waiting is not passive. It is a form of discipline, and discipline, stripped of reward or outcome, becomes the final task left to them. There is no precise moment that history can point to. No official time of death. No final report written from inside the enclosure. What remains is inference, based on air volume, space, and the limits of the human body. The war records what can be confirmed. Everything else becomes approximation. No witness observes the end. No camera records it. The enclosure remains sealed long after the men inside can no longer respond. When access is eventually restored, the war has already moved on. Their absence does not disrupt operations. Their loss does not alter outcomes. This is how such deaths occur in modern conflict. Quietly, without spectacle. Absorbed into paperwork or omitted entirely. The ending exists, but it exists without language capable of holding it. Stories like this do not fit easily into the history of World War II. They contain no turning points, no tactical lessons, no moments that justify sacrifice through outcome. There is no enemy action to condemn, no victory to frame the loss as necessary. What remains is discomfort, a reminder that death in war is not always dramatic or purposeful. Without survivors to testify, incidents like this dissolve into technical reports, if they are recorded at all. Over time, they are reduced to footnotes or omitted entirely, replaced by narratives that move more cleanly from cause to consequence. History tends to preserve what explains success. Endurance without resolution is harder to keep. Here is the final section of the script, bringing the narrative to a quiet, reflective close. World War II is remembered for its scale, its violence, and its decisive moments. But it is also defined by spaces like this, sealed, silent, and removed from view. Places where war does not arrive as combat, but as confinement. The 5 men inside did not influence the outcome of the conflict. Their endurance did not alter history's direction. Yet their experience reveals something essential about modern warfare: that it creates conditions where survival can become impossible without a single shot being fired. Remembering stories like this is not about assigning blame or extracting lessons. It is about acknowledging the full shape of war, including the suffering that left no mark on maps or monuments. Some histories end with victory. Others end with silence.